Krishna Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama,
Rama Rama,
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
It's now 2013, and we are very fortunate today to have the presence of His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj. Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj ki! So once again, devotees, thank you very much. And before we start, just to share with everybody, it's a very special year. From last year, we were very fortunate. It was Rath Yatra in Cape Town. And this year, it was in December. And now we are very fortunate to have the association again of Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Vaishnava Guru. I consider myself very fortunate to have the association of all of you, nice devotees. So, thank you. Thank you for your nice and kind association. You know what we're doing? We are not exactly having a standard program, you know, as we've had so many in Petermaritzburg and all over. Today is a little different, a little special program. Today is part one of Petermaritzburg Japa Workshop 2013. Oh yeah. So today's really special. And now for the next while, we will focus on chanting the holy names. First of all, we'll have some kirtan, and then we'll read something and say some words about the chanting of the holy names, and then chanting of the holy names in a general sense, and a little bit also about japa, chanting japa on our japa beads. Did we all bring our japa beads? We hope. Anybody didn't, we'll give you a crash course on how to count on your fingers. But after our little talk, then you know what we are going to do. We are going to chant japa. Yes. So gear up, get the focus together. We'll chant japa for a while, and then, well, we'll see, perhaps we'll have a little kirtan at the end again. And then there'll be prasadam. And then tomorrow morning, weather permitting, I haven't looked at the forecast actually.
It's good weather.
Is it really?
Okay. It's 28 degrees.
Oh.
You float in dry.
Okay. Okay, then tomorrow morning we'll gather at the park at what, about 6:30, 6:45, that sort of time. And our advance team will have gone and cordoned off a special area for us. Hare Krishna only. And then we will continue with our japa workshop with more japa, more prasadam, and more japa, and some words here and there of encouragement and inspiration and information like that. So that's our program, devotees. Let us begin now with some Hare Krishna Kirtan, and we will call on His Grace Sachi Kumar Prabhu to lead us in some Kirtan. So just let them have the brief.
Need the mic?
Chaitanya Jai Nityananda
Jai Chaitanya Jai Nityananda
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
As we mentioned a little earlier, today is not just our regular Hare Krishna program. It is something a little different and a little special. In a way, it is more educational. Of course, Krishna consciousness is always educational. But today we're going to focus on a particular aspect of Krishna consciousness and a particular very practical aspect of Krishna consciousness. Very practical and very foundational. Something which is underpinning all of our efforts in Krishna consciousness, and something which, if done nicely, will underpin success in Krishna consciousness, and very wonderful success. That is the chanting of the holy names, particularly chanting Japa, our personal meditation, chanting to ourselves on our beads. That particular aspect of chanting and that particular aspect of Krishna consciousness. So we will read a couple of verses here, say a few words, see where that takes us, and then in a little while we will chant some japa together. Not, we hope, not just the sort of common everyday japa, which may not be the very best in terms of quality, but we're really going to try to focus just for a short time. Really put everything else aside, put our minds aside with their different concerns and interests. In fact, we will invite all of you to tell your minds, take a holiday, it's Christmas time. It's almost time to go back to work, so take a holiday now, make the most of it while you've still got the opportunity. You, mind, you just go somewhere and let me chant and really focus on my chanting and really become absorbed in my chanting, because the fact is that the more we can become absorbed in chanting, the more we will relish a special nectar. I think everybody here, or I'm sure the great majority of you all here, have had some experience of that, when you really dive into the ocean of Krishna consciousness and somehow your mind dives in also, and you really do become absorbed chanting nicely and hearing nicely. And it is so joyful. It is incredible. Many of us have, so to speak, been around in this material world. Been there, done that. Oh, Hare Krishna. We could write a book about it. My story. So many of us have been through very dramatic histories in many ways. But we've come out on the other side, somehow by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, Radha and Krishna. Somehow or other, we came in contact with Krishna consciousness despite everything. And that everything, it might really be some things. But we come out on the other side, we've got Krishna consciousness. And I think so many of us have had that experience, maybe many times, when we're just deeply absorbed in chanting and hearing about the Lord. And it makes all the experiences we had before look like nothing. Why on earth? How on earth did I think that was nice? What was wrong with me? So, as they say, every saint has a past. And what is it? Every sinner can have a future. Krishna consciousness is not restricted like that. But the chanting is so foundational. Really, just if you want to do yourself a favor, get into the habit of getting up early in the morning, taking a nice bath, putting on clean clothes, and chanting, and really try to get into your chanting. And that, from there the nectar flows. And that nectar, that's what we're looking for. Everyone is looking for nectar. Although on the material platform, people are thinking that I will find nectar in some drugs or some sexual activity or visiting some pleasant place or something like that. There will find nectar, but they don't. They don't find the nectar there. The nectar is there in the holy names. Actually, we were there, I think some of you were there also, on New Year's Eve in New Jagannath Puri. And the Harinam was nice. The whole evening program was nice. And then the Harinam was nice. And then the midnight arati was just so amazing. And I remember going back to our house. We have a house across the road there. I just felt so satisfied and contented. It was really wonderful. Just wonderful. So as one progresses in Krishna consciousness, one can experience this always, and more, and then more. Thing is, we have to dive into that ocean, and it's particularly the ocean of the holy names. So just to begin here, I'm going to read the translation of a verse. It appears in Srila Rupa Goswami's verse book, which is called Padyavali. It is a collection of his favorite verses. It's his verse book. and all sorts of different verses. He's grouped them under different headings, different topics. And some of them are Bhagavatam verses, some of them Chaitanya Charitamrita, others like the one I'm going to read now. All he said there at the end of the verse is, author unknown. I won't read the Sanskrit, it is quite complex Sanskrit. I'll just read the translation. So he is appealing, well, he's offering a blessing really, a benediction. This is the type of verse that's called a phala stuti. Phala means fruit. Stuti means type of a verse. So phala stuti is a verse which is not just telling what the result or the fruit of an activity will be, but offering a blessing that if you do this, you will get this fruit. Or even that, in this case, that I means some great devotee. I want all of you to get this. So I'm praying, may you all get this. This is the mood of this verse. Here we go. May Krishna's holy name, the idea is, may Krishna's holy name bring transcendental auspiciousness to you all. But let's read the whole verse. May Krishna's holy name, which is a reservoir of all transcendental happiness, the destruction of Kali Yuga's sins, the most purifying of all purifying things, the saintly person's food as he traverses the path to the spiritual world, the pleasure garden where the voices of the greatest saints, philosophers, and poets play, the life of the righteous, and the seed of the tree of religion, bring transcendental auspiciousness to you all. This is his desire. May the holy name bring auspiciousness to Nanda Maharaj, Prabhuji, Krishna Kirtan, Yuki, Vaishnav Pran, and all of you. Let us, how about turning our phones off if they're not off already? Please. Okay, so now what we're going to do now, that was really just for a little inspiration and encouragement. What we'll do now is we will read a verse. It is a verse from Lord Chaitanya, and it's a very special verse. It's a very wonderful verse. It's a verse I think we've all heard many times. It is Shikshastakam, verse 1. How many of you know, or more or less know, Shikshastakam, verse 1? Well, you can repeat, you can chant along with me as I chant, okay? In unison, if you don't. Cheto darpanam marjanam bhavamahadadati nirvapanam Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Ananda Mudi Vardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Smadanam Sarvatmasnapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Isn't that amazing? So beautiful. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. The supreme glories to Sri Krishna Sankirtan. Okay, translation. Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. It's just amazing. So there are different specific points made in this verse. Particular glorifications of the holy name and the effects of chanting and hearing the holy names, Sri Krishna Sankirtan. Let us go through these one by one. So the first perfection or first glory of the holy names as presented here, Cheto Darpana Marjana, which means the holy name cleanses the mirror of the heart. It, in other words, it cleanses away the coverings. The coverings over the heart means over the soul, over us. We at this point, we as spiritual persons, we're covered over. What are we covered over by? Well, having been in material existence long time, even frankly, what we've been through in this one lifetime for many of us is in one sense enough to deeply bury us and cover us in material existence. But actually we've all been in this material world for millions of lifetimes. And we cannot even put a number to it. But it's very many. So that is all accumulated to cover us, the real person, our actual spiritual nature. And Lord Chaitanya here in this verse, he's using the analogy of a mirror. That over a mirror there may be some dust. Some dust may have accumulated. Even like sometimes, if you go visit some old house. I remember back in the late 70s, we were looking for, in England, a big new temple. So we were looking at some of the old mansions. And indeed, we bought an old mansion belonging to the Earl of Coventry after some time. So we went around visiting some of these old places, like 200, 300, 400 years old, really old. And they're the old homes of the so-called noble families, like the Earl of Coventry. But then their nobility, their opulence in many cases just reduced. And the families in the age of the atomic family, all the family members went off in different directions. And before you know it, you've got mum and dad only living in some 50-room mansion, really. And you know, mum and dad can only live in so many rooms at one time. So they'd lock up many, even just sections of the house. And we would come thinking to buy the house, so they'd open up. And some section had been closed maybe for 20 years. Nobody had been in there for 20 years. We somehow opened the door and go in, and everything is covered in dust, like, you know, you could measure the thickness of dust. So in a few places, we would, or the owner would, sort of sweep some of the dust aside, and suddenly, whoosh, cloud of dust, and we'd be coughing and spluttering. And sometimes people think that, oh, we shouldn't have swept, because it was very peaceful, and, you know, now we swept and there's dust everywhere, we're coughing and it's terrible. We should have left it. But you can't do that, because it's just, it's a covering, it's just dirty, it's just degraded. So cleaning the heart sometimes can be a little like that. We start sweeping the heart, and some dust comes up. Dust in the form of some old bad habits, some remembrances of old bad habits, what we used to do. I remember one devotee, we were living in the Cato Ridge ashram, some of you were around in those days. We were driving or walking, or we were somewhere in Durban, and we saw one, I think African man or some gentleman, not so gentle, but some man, with a, what do you call these things, a chillum pipe, and he was holding it sort of in some technical way, puffing on it. And this devotee just suddenly stopped and looked at him. And then he turned to me and said, wow, I don't know what happened to them. I said, you know what I was thinking? I was thinking, maybe if in the past I had held the pipe in a better way, it would have worked better. Every saint has a past. Don't be too shocked if you find out that some devotee who's very nice and sincere, but previously, you know, they were eating meat or doing even some just everything you shouldn't do. Welcome to the material world, don't be surprised. So, but now, the first perfection of the chanting of the holy names is that it cleanses the mirror of the heart. The mirror of the heart is there. We are there. And when the mirror is cleansed, we can see ourselves in our hearts. But now it's covered over. You look in the mirror and you can't really make out. Who is that in the mirror? Is it me or is it anybody if it's covered over so much? So, but the first perfection of the chanting of the holy names is it starts cleansing away and gradually uncovering what is really there within our hearts, which is wonderful. As the heart becomes purified, we can see ourselves for what we are. We can see Krishna, because he's also there within the heart. Premanjana churita bhakti valochanena santa sadaiva hridayeshu valokayanti. Lord Brahma says at Brahma Samhita that if one anoints, treats one's eyes with the ointment of prema, Krishna prema, love for Krishna, then santa sadaiva hridayeshu valokayanti. Then the santas, the advanced devotees who have developed some love, then within their hearts they can see Krishna and speak to Krishna and interact with Krishna, and Krishna speaks to them. So that's very wonderful. And I remember one time Srila Prabhupada had just given a program in Scotland, and it was very successful in Glasgow. Very successful program. Then Prabhupada went back to the temple. He was relaxing there after the program, and he quoted this verse from Brahma Samhita to the devotees, and the translation that the great devotees, those who have treated their hearts with the ointment of love, of Krishna Prema, they can see Krishna within their hearts. And one devotee asked Prabhupada, is it really like that, Prabhupada? That those devotees can see Krishna in their hearts? And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, yes, like in an enthusiastic way. Yes, yes. And then Prabhupada looked around the room and he pointed as he's looking. And Prabhupada said, oh yes, those devotees, they can see Krishna everywhere. And the devotees felt very clearly, very graphically, that Prabhupada was seeing Krishna everywhere. So Krishna is there to be seen. Krishna is there to be seen. He is not some mystery man, like in a game of, hide and seek, or find the something is hidden and you must now, get clues here and there. What's that game called? Cluedo? Anyway, you know what I mean. Trivial Pursuits. Yes, go to such and such a place which is like this, like that. So then you go there and you find, oh, another one. Go somewhere else. And eventually you may find the thing. So Krishna is not some mysterious person. Krishna is there to be seen everywhere. He's standing right in front of you, of us. Indeed, he is within our hearts. Not even in front of us, he is within us. Talk about being available. We're all sitting here in front of each other. We're all available to each other. Krishna is so available. He's in every atom. How available is that? Wherever you turn, he's there. So the problem is not a lack of availability. The problem is the dirt, the dust covering the heart. That's the problem. And the need is not to go on some big trek or some big exploration to find God, but the actual, what we need to do is look within and become able to look within. Get the eyes which can look within. Because Krishna tells Maharaj Ambarish in Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto, Sadhavo Hridayam Mayam. Sadhavo Hridayam Sadhunam Hridayam Twaham. The devotees are in my heart, and I'm in the hearts of my devotees. My devotees know nothing else other than me, and I know nothing other than them. So we need to become devotees. We need to become devoted. We're devotees, we're trying. But we really need to develop some love for Krishna. So the second perfection, Bhava Mahadevagni Nirvapanam, the holy name Sri Krishna Sankirtan, extinguishes the blazing fire of material existence. Srila Prabhupada, he was in Sweden and he gave a class in the Uppsala University. He spoke on the Gurvastikam, Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda, which we sing every day in Mangalarti, if we are in Mangalarti. Yeah? And you know that the first verse, Samsara Davanala Lida Loka, that this material world, samsara, is like Davanala. It's like a forest fire, blazing fire of material existence. But the spiritual master comes, he's like a cloud who has picked up water from the ocean, picked up the water of mercy from the ocean of mercy, and he comes and pours rain from the cloud, pours water. This spiritual master distributes the rain of mercy from the ocean of mercy, who is Krishna. And in that class, Srila Prabhupada gives an example. If there is a forest fire, then don't bother calling the fire brigade with their hoses. Don't fill up a bucket with from your tap and go running out. Watch out, fire, here I come. Don't bother. You need rain. You need a cloud. You need some rain. Otherwise, you know, some of these forest fires, actually, they go on for years. Yeah. So this rain of mercy, it's given by the spiritual master, but it's given particularly here in the form of the holy names. And if we really take shelter of the holy names, it's like taking shelter of the cloud. Taking shelter of the cloud. And then it rains and it extinguishes all those nasty things within the heart. Lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, arrogance, fear, all these things, dirty things within the heart. In this context, they're taken to be like parts of the fire, which are just consuming everything, consuming our good fortune, consuming our happiness, consuming our lives, and just turning everything to ashes. Yes, so the process of Krishna consciousness in general, which is headed by the process of chanting, the first part of the practice of Krishna consciousness is to chant. It gives immediate relief from all material distress. In Nectar of Devotion, if we've read Nectar of Devotion, we would have seen there are right at the beginning, 6 symptoms of pure devotional service. 2 of the symptoms they manifest on the level of sadhana bhakti, the beginning stages. Another 2 manifest on the level of bhava bhakti, advanced devotional service. And the final 2 manifest on the level of prema bhakti, pure Krishna consciousness in love for Krishna. So the 2 which manifest on the level of sadhana bhakti, first one is this one. It gives immediate relief from all material sufferings. And the second is, it is the beginning of all auspiciousness. I remember when I first joined the temple, or I was staying as a guest in the temple. You know, I'm still pretty much on the guest platform. But anyway, there I was at the temple in London, and when I had first arrived, and I really was a guest, it was the first time I ever visited a temple, they gave me some beads after a few minutes, like maybe half an hour. They gave me some beads and said, you know what? We chant the Hare Krishna mantra on these beads. Oh, really? Okay. Why don't you try it? Okay. So I tried. So in half an hour I had chanted 2 rounds. And my mind was all over the universe. From one corner to the other to the next. Woo. It was really a sorry scene, I must be completely honest. So after half an hour I finished 2 rounds, and I was not feeling this happiness, and you know, my sufferings were extinguished. No. But rather my head was spinning. And I thought, you know, I don't think this Hare Krishna is for me. I don't think I can do this. So I was just about to give up on the spot. Who knows where I would be today if that had happened? Phew. Prabhupada's mercy. But anyway, somehow or other, I stuck it out. And then a few days later, some days later, I came back to stay as a guest. January the 7th, 1973. Arrived there in the morning with my bags. And they said, yeah, you know, here, take your beads and start chanting. So I was chanting, and I wasn't really getting into it. And I thought, you know, this is a bit too much, 16 rounds. First thing I thought, somehow I made the mistake of thinking, you must go around the beads and back. And that's a round. It's 2 rounds. But I thought, you know, you must go around and back. And that's a round. And I thought, wow, you know, it's going to take me the whole day at least. So you know what I did? I started abbreviating the Hare Krishna mantra. And it was more like, not so much Hare Krishna, it was more like Krishna Krishna, Rama 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 Rama, Krishna Krishna. And I was getting through it, you know, getting some rounds done. I'd been in the temple, like I would say, a week at the most. And some devotee came up to me and very nicely said, you know what? I've been listening to you chanting. And then he explained, you must chant the whole mantra. Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
And I thought, oh no, I got caught back to the drawing board. It's going to take forever again. But then one day, after I had been living in the temple, it might have been 1 week to 10 days, it was something like that. There I was chanting and I was trying during the morning program, and suddenly I had a breakthrough. Oh yeah. And suddenly I found I was hearing the mantra. And I wasn't having to strain my head and somehow, you know, fight off some other daydreams and other thoughts and things. It was just now flowing and I was hearing it. And within minutes, I felt exhilarated. Compared to how I had been feeling, sure, it really had been a struggle in a really big way. It was like total liberation, total freedom. And then it was at that point I understood This is what it's all about. This is Krishna consciousness. And this is what the mantra is for, and this is what the mantra can do. You just have to become absorbed in it. So I would say in one sense, from that point there was kind of like no looking back. It was really nice, it was very convincing. So I experienced there, it gave me immediate relief on the spot, that moment, from all my anxieties. All my anxieties. Suddenly I realized, hey, all these things I'm anxious about, there's no need to worry about them at all. Nothing. And they were just gone. So yeah, to extinguish that blazing fire, the blazing fire, you know what it's like when it's too hot. Sometimes you experience a little. In South Africa it gets too hot and it's just uncomfortable. Sometimes when you're in India it gets even more hot. And then you go into an air-conditioned room and it's like, wow, the heavenly planets. I remember the first time I went to India, me and one other devotee, we had to stay on after our group from London had returned because we had to pick up some paraphernalia for the deities, and we had to wait for it to get completed. So we were hanging out in Vrindavan at our temple. One day we went to Radhakund by buffalo cart. It took the whole day. And the weather was just getting hotter and hotter and hotter. Now it's like mid-April, going into the second half of April, getting towards May. It was hot. It really was. And we had to go, for some reason we had to go to Delhi to change our tickets actually. We had to go to Delhi. And it was like maybe 45 degrees or more. It really, really was hot. And somehow we stumbled on a place called the Mohan Singh Bazaar, near just off Connaught Place. If any of you are Delhi experts, Delhi files, you would have seen the Mohan Singh Bazaar. And you would know that in there, they make some of the best milkshakes in the world. And we just stumbled on it. And mango season had begun. And we sat down and had mango milkshakes for about half an hour. Just one after the other. And in those days, they're like 3 rupees each. And it was like the heavenly planets. Not really, but sort of like them. But Krishna consciousness, particularly the chanting of the holy names. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtana. The supremely glorious sound vibration of the holy names. It's just like a cloud on a hot day, and then it rains and you feel relief. But that relief goes deep. It goes very, very deep. So we have to accept it within our hearts and give our hearts and give our minds to the chanting of the holy names. Then the third perfection, Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitarana. The moonlight of the holy names opens the white lotus of good fortune. So when it makes people fortunate very quickly. You may have heard of one devotee called Rasikananda. He's in our line, I think, a disciple of Shamananda Pandit. who was a follower of Jiva Goswami. So this Rasikananda, he was preaching in those days. The Muslims controlled Bengal, but he was preaching fearlessly and powerfully and just sure. He was into it. And one day the Muslim king came to the small town where Rasikananda was preaching and confronted him. What do you think you're doing? How dare you do this? And Rasikananda preached to him. This is the best thing. It can change people. It does change people. And you should do it. Right at that time, a mad elephant entered the village, small town, at the other end of the main street. And the Muslim said to Rasikananda, "Oh, this chanting of Hare Krishna changes people, changes living entities, and purifies all living entities?" Rasikananda said, "Yes." And the Muslim king said, "Okay, go and preach to that elephant." And his soldiers pulled out their swords. And the king said, "It's either the elephant or my soldiers. Which do you want?" So Rasikananda just went down to that elephant. And he said, "What do you think you're doing?" This wild elephant, mad elephant, who's just smashing things. "What do you think you're doing?" He just confronted the elephant. And the elephant looked at him. You know, people don't normally do that. And so Rasikananda preached to him, "Look at you. Look at this big body you've got. Big, stupid, material body. What do you think you're doing in this body? You're wasting your time in this material world." Now the elephant was just transfixed, listening to Rasikananda. I find it okay. Is it okay? Yeah, what do you think you're doing? You're actually a spirit soul. But look at you. Look at your situation. And the elephant's just there, just looking at Rasikananda. And the Muslim king and his soldiers, they're watching this and listening to this. They couldn't believe it. And Rasikananda told him, "You must surrender to Krishna. I want you to surrender right now to Krishna. Get down. Offer your dandavats." And you know what happened? The elephant offered his obeisances. Then he circumambulated Rasikananda while offering obeisances again and again, and went around and around Rasikananda. And you know what happened? Rasikananda initiated him and gave him the name Gopal Das. It was actually a historical story. And whenever Rasikananda would pass through the area, Gopal Das and his friends, the other elephants, would go door to door with baskets hanging from their trunks and collect donations and rice and foodstuffs, and bring them back to Rasikananda. So talk about the holy names creating auspiciousness. Like in the moonlight, the white lotuses, they bloom, they open up, before they're all closed up during the day. But talk about opening up the beautiful, fragrant white lotus of good fortune. The chanting of the holy names is so powerful, it can even change the heart of an elephant. And just imagine people hear a knock on the door. And they open the door. There's an elephant. So people would willingly give donations. So there are many examples, there's so many examples, Jagai and Madai. The prostitute with Haridas Thakur. There are many examples of people who somehow or other, for whatever reason, Jagai and Madai, they were from Brahmin families, but somehow they became degraded, like disastrously degraded. But they were delivered by Lord Nityananda and the Sankirtan movement. The prostitute with Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur told her, she came wanting to seduce him, and her employer, Ramachandra Khan, was waiting behind the bushes nearby. And if she managed to seduce Haridas Thakur, he was immediately going to jump out. And he had with him CNN, BBC, SABC2, MTV, whoever they are. They were all ready. And they were just going to just catch it all. And that would be, would have been a problem for Haridas Thakur. So she approached him, and she just directly approached him. You're so handsome, I want to enjoy with you. And Haridas Thakur, he adopted very sort of extraordinary preaching strategy, which we do not recommend to anyone who's not on the level of Haridas Thakur. He saw she has some potential. She's a prostitute, somehow, circumstances, the material world being what it is. But she could become a devotee. I just need to have some time to give her Krishna consciousness. So Haridas Thakur, he adopted this extraordinary preaching strategy. He said, she said, I want to enjoy with you. He said, oh, that sounds nice. Hey, I like that. But just one thing. I have to finish my rounds first. And so just sit down, wait, and just listen while I chant. And when I finished, well, there we go. And so he was chanting and chanting into the evening, into the night. She fell asleep. She fell asleep. She woke up the next morning, the sun had risen. There was Haridas Thakur still chanting. She said, you mean you haven't finished your rounds yet? And he said, yeah, that was yesterday's rounds. Now I'm chanting today's rounds. I just have to finish these. So it's okay, don't worry. I'll be finished soon. So just sit here and listen. So she's listening and listening. As she listened, because it's like the white lotus of good fortune, because it cleanses the heart, the mirror of the heart, the mirror of the mind. As she's sitting listening, her heart was becoming purified. And that purification started manifesting in the form of spontaneous realization just coming to her. That she started thinking, hey, why am I doing this? What am I doing this for? He really is a saintly person. I shouldn't be doing this. And then sitting and listening more. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare. And and listening for another half hour or hour, and more realization. What I'm doing is really offensive. This is really terrible. And then on listening more, Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
And more realization, I can't do this. I must stop. So you see, the realization is just flowing and increasing. And then she became transformed. She became transformed. And within a couple of hours, she gave up everything. Gave up everything. And became a renunciate. And that place is still there. That ashram of Haridas Thakur. He left the place and she took over. And she would just sit there and just chant. And that's all. So, talk about the white lotus of good fortune. And even people from very drastic backgrounds being transformed, completely transformed. So, Param Vijayate, Sri Krishna Sankirtana. Fourth perfection, Vidyavadu Jivana. The holy name is the life of transcendental knowledge. Not just book knowledge. Not just like a parrot that, I know so many verses, or Prabhupada was in, I think, New Zealand or somewhere, and the devotees had a parrot, a pet parrot in the temple. And whenever a devotee would walk by, the parrot would say, Hare Krishna, or Hari Bol. And the devotees were very proud of the parrot. And then Prabhupada came, and they didn't tell Prabhupada. He just walked past the parrot, and the parrot went, Hare Krishna. And Prabhupada was a little taken aback. And the devotees were all very happy. Oh, yes, this is our parrot, he chants Hare Krishna. Isn't he like, he's just he's a devotee parrot. And Prabhupada said, well, it's nice. But he's just a parrot. He doesn't understand. He has no realization. He has no knowledge. It's like a machine. Prabhupada said, if you grab him by the throat, he'll just go squawk. He won't go Hare Krishna. If you grab him like you're going to kill him, he'll just scream. So actually what we need knowledge, we need realization. This is what we need. Concrete knowledge. The knowledge solidifies as part of our reality. So, like a very good example is Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj. He was illiterate. He couldn't read, he couldn't write his own name, nothing. So what it means, he never read Bhagavad Gita. He never read Srimad Bhagavatam. But, and then, on the instruction of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he accepted Srila Bhaktisiddhanta as his disciple, and Bhaktisiddhanta academically was on the level of a genius. They called him walking encyclopedia. All he had to do was hear something once and he would remember it, he could recall it any time. So any time there was a discussion on any subject, he could speak authoritatively. Any subject. Walking encyclopedia. He became the only disciple of Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who was a total illiterate. Doesn't that say something? And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said that, in fact, it'd be nice to read you one or two of the things he says, because they're amazing, his appreciations of his spiritual master. The one thing he said was that whenever he opened his mouth, out came the Vedic literatures. Yeah. Realization through chanting, through hearing. So if we chant nicely, even more ultimately than reading the books, although we should and we must read the books, but ultimately even more, the key to knowledge in Krishna consciousness is the chanting of the holy names. And therefore Lord Chaitanya said, it is the life of transcendental knowledge. You may have heard one time Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, some big academic from Benares, Hindu university, came with some big academic, complex Hindu questions to ask Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. So he arrived, this big, important academic, Professor Swat-a-lot. and he was brought in to see Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, well, you know, I'm busy right now. I'll be free shortly, but in the meantime, why don't you go and ask those boys over there? There's some young brahmacharis, like maybe late teens, very early 20s. And they were cleaning the arti paraphernalia. Why don't you go and ask them? And, you know, shortly I'll be free. So this big scholar thought, you know, here I am, big professor. He wants me to go ask these sort of, you know, adolescents, late teenagers, early 20s. They've probably never been to university. But then he thought, oh, okay. So he went and asked them, I have some questions, can I ask you? And they said, you know, we're very busy cleaning the arti paraphernalia. Why don't you sit down with us, help us clean the paraphernalia, and when we're finished, we'll answer your questions. And this professor thought, wow, now they want me to work. Gee whiz. But anyway, you know, sort of pious Hindu man. So he sat down and he helped clean the paraphernalia. As he was doing that, suddenly the answers to his questions started just popping into his head. And then they finished, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was free. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, okay, what are your questions? And the man said, you know, I don't have any more questions. I was cleaning the paraphernalia there, and the answers just came. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta quoted a verse, I forget the exact number, but it's in, I think, the second chapter of the first canto. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojatana Janayat Yasu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayad Ahaitukam. That if you render service to Krishna, to Vasudeva, then causelessly, ahaitukam, causelessly, knowledge and detachment arise within the heart. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta quoted that verse to him. And because that's exactly what had happened. So if we chant nicely, it will help us to read Prabhupada's books and understand them and really get the ideas and then to be able to present them to others. Then the fifth perfection, Anandam Buddhivardhanam, it increases the ocean of bliss so much that material happiness looks stupid. Yamunacharya said, because he had been a big enjoyer when he was young, he was a king. He said, when I think of how I used to enjoy with young women, and I thought, oh, this is very nice. But now I'm tasting the nectar of Krishna consciousness. I remember the pleasure I got from those things, and it seems so stupid. He said, my lips curl with distaste, and I spit at the thought. Because he's getting so much a higher experience of pleasure in Krishna consciousness. Sixth perfection and the last. Pratipadam purnamrita aspadam. The holy name gives a taste of the full nectar at every step. If we really get into it. If we really get into it. So, there's some thoughts about the chanting of the holy names. As we said, our proposal now is, let us chant a little bit. Okay? Before we start, I am going to read a prayer. This is called Shri Nam Mala Grahana Mantra. It is a prayer to your mala. It is a prayer to your beads. So take your beads. Take your beads. Look at your beads. And in a prayerful way, listen to this and try and make it yours. Take it into your heart. Avignam kuru male tvam, harinama japeshu cha, Shri Radha Krishnayor dasyam, dehi male tu prartaye. O mala, O chanting beads, please destroy inauspiciousness in my chanting of the holy name of Lord Hari, and grant me the position of service to Radha and Krishna. This is all I pray, O Mala. So, now we will use our sacred beads. If, I know you've been sitting down for some time, if you're feeling a little achy, you can stand up, but we don't want any side conversations and just, whimsicalness. What we want now, we want everyone, all of you, everyone, to really now concentrate on your chanting. We will start by chanting one round in unison.
So before we begin, there are members of our chanting community that do not have beads.
Okay. Anyway, I think they can just chant along. I don't know if we have extra beads, but it's okay. You can just chant. You can just chant. So we'll chant one round in unison first. And then what we'll do, we will chant one round just as usual. Okay? So now really try to pronounce the mantra and not some sort of quasi-mantra. No snick, snick, round, round, gay, gay, gay. But actually pronounce the whole mantra. And please try to hear the mantra. Please try to hear the mantra, beginning from the first hooray. If you can catch the first hooray, you may be able to catch the rest of the mantra. If you don't catch the first hooray, well, even if you catch the rest of the mantra, it's not complete. So And even, it's sort of a trick for the mind. You can tell your mind as you start a mantra, okay mind, we will listen to this one mantra from beginning to end. And then really apply your mind to hear the mantra from beginning to end. And then you'll come to the next mantra and you tell your mind the same thing. Okay mantra, okay mind, one mantra. We will hear this one mantra from beginning to end. And in a little while you'll find it starts just flowing. And you just naturally start hearing the mantra. And your mind is not, wandering off what time's prasadam, how much longer is it going to be, when we're going to finish, have they got pizza or what? Okay. So we will chant one round in unison. Takes a little longer, takes 15 minutes. And then we will chant one round as normal, just to ourselves individually. Okay. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
That's one round. Very good. So now we will chant one round to ourselves, as in our usual way. And following that, I think prasadam will be served. Hare Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare